So welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with RokoM, Michelle, and our super special guest, Maria. I'm going to let Maria say her last name, but I'm going to let you know Maria's title. I think, yeah, I wrote it down. Look, there it is. Communications and Public Affairs Director with the City of Rancho Cordova. And of course, they've got their branding in the background on the water, and I love kayaking. So this week's topic is the power of stillness. I'm going to kick us off with a quote, and then Maria, I want you to step in and say your last name to share with people. There were a couple of them that we ran across, and they're both amazing, but I'm going to give you the one that I think speaks to more closely what we're talking about this week. Is the answers you seek never come when the mind is busy. They come when the mind is still. And for me, when we were talking originally about this subject, it is literally, I'm going to say it like at night, right? So at night, I'll plant a seed of what I want my brain to unpack, right? Or think about or process through. Or when it could be the commute home, I would do that. That when I used to go to the office, I would leave the office, and on the way home, I'm literally, my brain is processing through stuff because I'm not doing things. But it is when the answers come. It is when I get clarity and when I can quiet my mind to actually hear the rest of the stuff going on and not the internal dialogue that's happening. So welcome, Maria. And what are your thoughts?
Thank you. Yeah. So to answer your first question, the way to pronounce my name, which is not easy, is Chacon Kniestedt. So yeah, kind of a tough one.
Thank you. I didn't want to butcher it. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, fine. I'm used to it. But yeah, I think, first of all, stillness has played a huge part in just my growth as a human being, my growth as a leader in our organization. And it feels so, it's like a contradiction in terms. And we were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, and that is, people who want to accomplish a lot, people who are type A personalities, who are attracted to jobs in which they are, either pushing somebody else or they themselves are being pushed to perform. They often don't think that stillness is where their power is, because they think their power is in the frenetic energy and, the chaos that exists in, some of these high-powered jobs. But when you actually take the time to be still and, as you said, Michelle, sort of listen to what those thoughts are in your head, that is where you get your power and your energy and the restorative quality of creativity, and you reconnect with all of the things that you're about, whatever that is, whether that's nature, whether that's your family, your friends, or, whatever that is. But it is such a contradiction in terms for certain people. And yet I can't explain why it works, but it does.
So Maria, we go way back, and this is such a special episode for me because we do go so far back. I mean,
how far back do you go?
Junior high school. But I won't tell you what our age is now, but we go way back.
Was there electricity then, Roko?
Yeah. But we've seen each other grow over the years and go in different directions with our careers and our families. And so tell us a little bit about your journey as a leader as it relates to stillness and how you got started and what it's done for you.
Yeah. So I am in the communications field, public relations, marketing. And so if any of you are familiar, with that, career path, that it's a 24/7 job. You are usually reporting to, the CEO of the organization, and you are basically the brand manager. You're either coming up with brand ideas or you're protecting, the brand. Mm-hmm. And in lots of different ways, in state government, in the private sector, and now for a mid-sized city. And so my journey has really touched a lot of different sectors, and it's been very exciting. but it's also been, you know, somewhat exhausting because I find myself in this vortex, you know, of everything that could possibly go wrong. And here's the problem and help us fix it. And so of course you want to be your best self. And, you know, I would always gravitate toward things that were outside of me, you know, let's go to the spa, or let's go for a run, or, you know, let's go kayaking, you know, down the river. But really, you know, as I said before, it took me a long time, but it you know, what I gravitated towards, and this is through reading and different, you know, types of, you know, conversations and coaching and all of that sort of thing, that really the power is really inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't connect with that until you are still. And everyone has their own moments of finding what that stillness is. For me, I have this little backyard, you know, that my COVID project was redoing it. So I have 9 fruit trees and 3, you know, berries, and I have, you know, garden, and I've got my birds and different things. And Roko knows this about me. I've always done writing and things like that as a, you know, just growing up. And so for me, you know, I find my stillness in that natural setting of my backyard where I'm just journaling, you know, and it's just random thoughts. It's nothing, you know, very exciting or even enlightening in any way, but it stills the mind. It gets the ideas that are sort of clouding that power that you have, that each of us has inside of us. And then you reach this point where all of a sudden there's no chaos in your mind, and you're still, you hear the, you know, the things around you in a more acute way. You see things and they're brighter, and all of a sudden you realize you're in a space where you feel very energized, and you come back to yourself. And so in those moments, it's so restorative. And, you know, you have this clarity of thought, and it's not hard to do. And all of us can do it, and it's free. You don't have to pay for it, you know.
Cost anything, and you get a knife set.
And yeah, how much can you say? What can you say about that these days? You know, that you don't have to.
You know, what's interesting when you were talking is that what you described that you do, journaling is, I tell people it's a way through happiness and everything else that you know, you can get journal the reflection of some great thing or wonderful thing that happened to you during the day. But when you were talking and describing that, the visual that I had was you were literally getting all the crazy thoughts that were going on in your brain, the clutter, if you will, out onto the piece of paper. And so when that happens, then you do end up with clarity of thought, because all the noise that you have going on is literally in your journal. You've just written it all down.
Right.
And,
yeah.
That's it. It's got to be powerful.
It is. It's, for me, you know, and I'm sure it's different for everyone else. I mean, some people find that stillness in nature, and they go on hikes or they camp. You know, some people find it, you know, through a run or some other place that, you know, that where you know, as you said, you're sort of purging all of the chaos in some way, and then allowing that stillness in. And so whatever your method is, I don't think the method really matters. It's just finding those moments where you can reconnect with yourself. And, you know, for me, that's always been writing. And a lot of it is just gobbledygook. And you're right, I'm just getting out, you know, random thoughts and things. But I'm also always amazed at the creativity that follows all of that gobbledygook. Because those, I think, sometimes are where I get my best ideas. And, you know, again, it's such a, you know, a good feeling. And, you know, this is not my idea. This is, you know, I was talking about how I've been influenced a lot recently by Eckhart Tolle and his Stillness Speaks and the Power of Now. And there are many, many people who talk about stillness in lots of different ways. Jay Shetty talks about it, you know, in Think Like a Monk. And, you know, there are many, many, many people who who talk about this. So this isn't like a Maria idea. This is just like an idea that
we promise we will not claim that you're the one that came up with this groundbreaking thing. But what I wonder is, because Roko asked about your journey to get to that, since you've been practicing journaling to create stillness in your own mind, you know, what have you noticed?
Oh my gosh. I love, this is like, we didn't talk about this before the podcast, by the way. This is like a great segue. So if you don't mind, I'm going to digress for just a moment and talk about the power that stillness brings by opening the doors for the unexpected. So I started, you know, this sort of stillness journey, I guess about a year ago. So it's fairly recent for me. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do is write a book. And I actually wrote a book twice. I hated it, and I, you know, did anything. And
well, so you wrote a book twice.
I think it counts if they're really not very good. But anyway, so I was on my morning walk one morning, and, you know, I'm listening to, you know, my positive mantras, and I'm just sort of allowing this, you know, stillness to sort of seep into me as I'm taking this morning walk. And I see this image of a woman on the ground in the dirt. And I had to, you know, take a second look. I'm looking at it, and I realize it's a coin. And so I stop and I pick it up, and I'm looking at this coin, and the coin is an 1850 half-cent braided queen coin.
Wow.
And I know. And what's so funny is that my book is set in the late 1800s, and I was thinking of moving the time. The reason why it's not working is because the time frame, the historical backdrop, is wrong.
Right.
And I was thinking of moving that to pre-Civil War. And so I'm looking at this coin, and I'm thinking to myself, and all of a sudden I felt all of these sort of connections, you know, to my book, and to the book is loosely based on just some, you know, some family history that, you know, that goes way back. And anyway, all of a sudden it was like, you know, like in a movie where you have like the aha moment, and there's all of these things.
Yeah.
Like all like, and so I'm like totally jazzed, of course, because I'm thinking to myself, this is a sign, right? You know, it's like, where you see an 1850 coin on your top randomly.
What are the odds? What are the odds?
Yeah. So I get home and I clean it off, and I look at it a little more closely, and it's this woman, and it's called a braided coin because her hair is braided. She looks like a queen, but she's a regular person. And protagonist in my story is just this regular person, but she is so queenly in some of the characteristics that she has. So of course I call my sister, you know, and you're not going to believe what I found. And she's Googling everything, because that's what she does. And then she sends me all this history, and it turns out that my grandfather was born in 1851. And that's I know it's weird that he's not my great grandfather, but my actual grandfather.
Yeah.
And it's a long story, but my dad was born when my grandfather was 70, or in his 70s.
Okay.
And so, so that, you know, spans many, like 100 years if you do all the math. So anyway, I attribute this serendipity to stillness, opening a door to this creative process that I have been wanting to tackle, but fear has been holding me back from it, because I've done it twice before with not great results.
Yeah.
And so see what can happen, all of these, you know, wonderful sort of little miracles. And so I rub that coin every now and then when I'm feeling like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can do this. And I think to myself, no, I can.
Yeah.
I can.
I just love that. And one of the things that was coming to mind as you were telling this story was presence of mind. So Michelle and I have taken this coaching class, and it was all about learning how to be present and in the moment, so that you don't miss things, but appreciate the things that are around you. And it brings these unexpected beautiful things in front of you that you would have missed if you were so busy checking that box, getting the list done of all the things that need to be completed in that day. So I just love that story.
Oh, I'm thinking about this is that if you weren't in that space to where you were in the presence, the now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not looking to 50 steps ahead or to the next day that you're planning, you would have missed it. There's no way that you would have seen a small coin in the dirt. It just wouldn't have happened. But it is those things though.
Yeah, it was buried, just like our power is buried.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Maria, like discovering of stillness, would have been running that trail with like dance music pounding in my, absolutely would have missed it.
Yeah.
You know, because of the frenetic pace that I was going.
Yeah.
Instead, I was listening to things that slow my thoughts, slow my pace, and literally was going at a slow pace, just walking. And it opened a door.
Yeah.
I love
and look at now how fast you've come up with all these ideas to further that book writing. Michelle and I always say in our problem solving, go slow to go fast. And there is intention around that. When you slow down, you can pause to think about, what do I actually know? What do I don't know? How might I learn? But it's, it can be applied in many, many areas. So
I think what you found is the missing piece to the connections that need to be made around your story, right? And all of a sudden, everything just connected in that moment. And I think so leadership, right? And with leaders, I think it is too. It's like create those moments, and it doesn't have to be long periods of time, because I think that's what leaders tell themselves too. I don't have time for that. I got too much. I don't have time for that. And the thing I'll say is, I don't think we can afford not to, right? Because we have to be able to quiet the mind to be able to do actual thinking and not just the doing of the stuff. And that's the difference, right? Because you can be busy doing stuff, or you can actually sit back and what's strategy look like? What is the actual planning for the next thing? And you have to quiet your mind to be able to get clarity on that. Stop the noise to go, okay, let me actually think through this. And guess what? When you get in that space, it takes less time.
Yes, absolutely. You nailed it. And actually that is something that, PR professionals often overlook, because we get so caught up in the tasks of things. And the asks from clients or the asks from people in your organization. And instead of, zooming out and taking a moment and really taking a look at the problem and seeing how it can be solved, that saves so much time in the long run through that strategy versus just the doing. And it's like that in your personal life too. What have you missed?
Yeah.
If you're just going at such a frenetic pace all the time.
Yeah. So Maria, how did you get started? What was one thing that you did to get started on embracing this stillness?
So, gosh, that's a great question. It has been a journey of breadcrumbs, I feel like, that have led me to the stillness. So, but you have to be a seeker and you have to be in receiving mode. And when you seek, it's interesting how one thing will lead to another, will lead to another, and will lead to another. So I didn't start this journey of self-reflection thinking it would lead me to stillness. I was hoping it would lead to, I don't know, finding joy, inner peace, whatever it looks like. And it instead has been so much more. It's given me all of those things. Plus, it has strengthened the connection with just the power that each of us has inside. And so for me, it was a combination of just, being open to the possibility of growth, right? That's really the first thing, is that just accepting that unless we're growing, we're dying, right? And really setting ego aside and being humble and understanding that that's okay, and just letting go of all of the fears and all of the expectations, and just really focusing on what does growth look like, and letting go and letting the journey happen. And so the journey has been unexpected, I will say, over the last just 5 years. But it has been beautiful. It has been beautiful. And in this moment, I'm all about the stillness. Who knows what the next breadcrumb is going to lead me to, but
I love it, because the stuff that I heard too is that, because when you were talking about joy and it wasn't stillness, it was peace or something, but the word happiness came to mind, right? And so it's like this mission to find, and it could be purpose, it could be anything else, but be open to the fact that it's not going to be necessarily conventional or how you may have planned it out in your life. And it's not anything that you're going to take the bull by the horns and wrestle him to the ground. But it's like, be open to, it could be that you connect with somebody who knows something that you've never been exposed to, or some little insight that someone shares with you. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Or to your point, a coin on the ground, right? There could be any number of things that cause us to pause for a moment and learn something and be open to doing something just a little bit different, as long as you set the intention for yourself to do that. Yeah. I love this conversation. I love where it's gone, right? Because in the background, you've got the kayak, which I freaking love to be on the water. I mean, water, I just love it. To me, that's and if you take the sun to where it's rising behind the water, I'm instant peace. I mean, instant peace. So I appreciate the backdrop of as we're chatting today. So what I want to do is ask you, what's one thing, because like I said, I loved our time together, but what's one thing, and it can be two if you've got a couple of them, that you want people to walk away with from our time together around the power of stillness?
Yeah, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is to accept growth, right? As I think you get to a point in your career and where you think you should know everything, and you can never know everything. And to just surrender to this idea that the knowing comes with the acceptance of growth. And so I guess that's number one. And number two is following that growth wherever it may lead, without the expectation really of anything. Just continue to seek, and whatever is meant to be part of your journey, it will come to you. And that is your gift to yourself, really. So I would say, I guess, G squared, growth, gift.
How can I follow that, Michelle? How can I follow it? She said it all. She said it all.
I know that you have thoughts.
I do. Do we have time for another segment, though?
No.
No. So here's what I would leave with. If you're feeling like your day is just filled with tasks and it's lacking meaning, or you feel burnt out, no energy at the end of your day, listen again to this podcast and embrace stillness of mind so that you can open up possibilities for how you might change your life and your day.
I like it. There's a couple periods of time. So when I think about that, I think about what are the triggers, right? When are people going to know when there is an opportunity, more so than others, to step in and practice a minute or two to try and get stillness, right? And one of them, because I've heard several people, especially recently, that it's like, I can't fall asleep at night. My brain will not shut off. To me, that's an opportunity to practice stillness, some engagement in that, whether it's meditation or calm app, something, or the visualization you can use that I've shared with a couple clients, just imagine that that stuff that's there, the worries, the whatever, literally are just floating away. Release them, which is similar to journaling thing you're talking about. So allow your brain to settle, right? The other time could be and which is, you talk about counterintuitive, when you feel at the most demands or stresses on you. I've got 50 zillion things to do. I have no time. That is the moment that you need to take it. That is the moment that you need to calm your brain. And it's a minute or two to be able to do that so that you can get some clarity, because otherwise, and maybe people have had this happen to where you have so much crap going, you're literally just staring at a screen or a piece of paper and doing nothing because you can't process. You don't know where to start. Take that moment and find what Maria is talking about, stillness, so that you can get clarity, and then you can start re-engaging. I love this. So thank you.
We'll have to have you back for another topic.
Yeah, definitely. As she's exploring and picking up her breadcrumbs. So thank you. And the books. So this has been, thank you, Maria, for your time. I've so appreciated this. I've got this frog in my throat now. This has been Leadership Soundbites with RokoM, Michele, Maria. Please like, share, subscribe until next time, and super excited. Thank you.
Thank you.